William, so good to see you. Oh my God, it's 2013 when you came and you were on my Bitcoin panel. And
I know, the few people in the world who seem to care. But yeah, I do. I think about that sometimes, you know. It, of course, had reached its near-term peak at that time and then settled into the long, dark winter, only to reemerge last year. You know?
Quite a lot of froth.
Oh yeah, you know, I remind people every year since 2012. In January there's a conference I go to in LA called METAL, Media Entertainment Technology Alliance, and I every year since that time I mentioned, by the way, last year the market capitalization of all these cryptocurrencies was X, and a year later it's Y. It's not too late, and every year people come up to me and say, I missed it. Every single year. And so I reminded everybody this year, right, January 2018, I said, do you remember when I came? They're like, yeah. And remember what the market capitalization was? It was 17 billion collectively for all cryptos, 17 billion at the beginning of 2017. And it finished at over 500 billion, right?
My goodness.
It's taken a little bit of a move back in the last month or so, but I have no doubt it'll continue to grow. So of course everybody said, but now, William, in 2018, forget about it, right? We've clearly missed it. And I'm like, we've said that for 6 years. No, I don't think we missed it.
So tell me a bit about what you're doing at Cashel Enterprises.
Okay, so Cashel is an investment fund that I run that invests in all things crypto. I started it in 2013 and did with a couple of partners. We formed a number of smaller investment vehicles like Crypto Capital Partners, and the goal was to put little amounts of money in anybody who was thinking of building something cool, particularly infrastructure in the blockchain. Now, the one thing I would say about that approach was that was with my venture capital hat. Right. And it was, we buy equity and we sit on boards and we noodle through, the management meetings and all that stuff. And it was in 2014 where I started to think, you know what? We may be really, really early for the companies, and maybe the coins themselves are a more attractive thing to hold. So my partners and I then started to really take a strong interest in the coins themselves. And we did a lot of stuff, invested in a lot of very good projects that have wound up now, have really produced nice returns. Right. And keep in mind, this is a global phenomenon. It's not, a Silicon Valley type thing. It's everywhere.
No, in fact, I think Silicon Valley was a bit slower than other places actually initially. But now, of course, everyone's wanting even my building manager said to me the other day, you're into crypto? And I'm like, not really. I just run events. And he's like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, even he's interested? Yeah.
I see this. We serve millions of customers in my company. My company allows people to buy and sell in-game items, little like avatars and whatnot. We call them skins. But if you play video games, you get these virtual items. Some of them can be worth a lot of money. It is scary to try to sell them to someone else that you don't know, who maybe is on the other side of the world, because you send them the item, they may or may not ever send you the money. So we act as sort of a trusted third party in the middle. We take the money, we take the item. But last year we thought, okay, the video game industry is ready for a blockchain-based solution to what we do. I almost felt like Blockbuster Video saying, all right, let's invent, Netflix, because if we don't, someone else will. Yes. So we built a token called Wax that's a smart contract that really replaces not everything, but a lot of the functions that we do today. So you don't have to have a human being that you give stuff to. It'll just, you put it in a smart contract and it decides what to do. And video game people do like cryptos. Our company, our marketplace, accepts more cryptos and pays out in deposits, pays out more cryptos and cash outs than any other e-commerce site on earth. Wow. And I think it's because video game people who buy and sell in-game items really grasp what cryptos are.
Well, I think it's been an outlier community for so long, for so many years. And I think video gamers are often a little bit outlier too, yes, so it all sort of fits, right? We're all weirdos.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Even the venture capital industry has never really embraced video gaming. And I remember when I got involved in the mid-90s, I got involved in venture capital, and I asked my peers, why don't we do video games? And the answer was, well, they're, quote, hit-driven businesses, and we don't know how to think about those. That is the worst frickin' reason you could ever have given me. Now, years later, that I've done a few hundred investments in the consumer space, all venture capital investing is hits-driven. You know, you think if Facebook comes along every other day, it's all hits-driven. Yeah. So to say we don't do video game business because they're hits-driven is kind of silly. Yeah. What I will tell you is video games themselves are probably the most durable consumer products you can have, meaning a good hit video game doesn't last 1 year product cycle. It can be around for 20 years.
Wow. So tell me, what's happening in LA as regards the ICO versus venture? Is that affecting the venture landscape down there? Because I know you've got both hats, right?
That's right. Here's what I would say. I think ICOs are the most substantial change to the venture industry that I have seen since I've been involved in venture. Now, by the way, that may seem dramatic, but venture doesn't change much. So it's not like I can compare it to some giant epics that upset the industry. When I got in the industry, I got in for the purposes of investing in internet businesses. I had the first fund that did internet businesses, exclusively consumer internet. And that was a big change for a lot of VCs because they were used to hardware and real businesses and businesses that didn't know how they were going to make money. It was all, eyeballs and impressions. Really, they couldn't quite figure out. But they eventually did. It took 3 or 4 years. ICOs cut right at the heart of the venture capital economic model. I mean, I talk to businesses every single day that would normally go the venture route. And I'm not talking about raw startups. I talk to them too, but I'm talking about businesses that I think are exciting businesses. Yes. And first and foremost in their mind is, all right, William, to help us do an ICO, why would we want to go the old route? And I say, there's no reason you would ever want to go that route. I mean, there's one small reason we can talk about later, but for the most part, no, it's a much better deal for the entrepreneur.
The only thing that I think is sad is someone was telling me a lot of VCs here are throwing money at tokens and not having to do any work. In other words, not contributing to the companies.
But that's in keeping with venture capitalists. Putting in money and doing no work. Come on.
You've just broken all my illusions. But you see, that
is the best investment, though, to be honest. What do you want? You want to make a decent amount of money and work night and day, make a decent amount of money, don't do any work. I mean, quite frankly, you can't blame us. I mean, if we could do no work, we would do no work. Usually it just doesn't turn out that way.
But I think that the experience and knowledge that the VCs all have, who's been on so many boardroom tables? Who's seen all those failures and those successes?
That, by the way, is the one reason. Right. That is the one reason. You are so right. It is an amazing body of knowledge that an experienced venture capitalist has. Yeah. And to be able to see, okay, I see what stage you guys are in. You're going to need, a different type of organizational structure, whatever. That's valuable. And the only way you get that is by essentially paying for it. You have to allow a venture capitalist to invest in your business.
Take equity.
But if you pick,
everyone's got skin in the game then, right?
Yeah. The venture model, I don't think it'll go away. No. But I do think it will have to change. And just like in the mid-90s, what you saw was an entire new group of venture capital firms, like mine, Ideal Lab Capital Partners, that was associated with an incubator. We didn't even know much about old venture capital ways. And that's what you see right now in the crypto space. It's hundreds of funds that don't know anything about venture capital.
So there's a whole new creative level.
Yes, there's a whole new group. And what's interesting, of course, though, unlike venture capital, which has such a concentration in a particular number of cities, very few in the world, crypto is not like that.
No, it's global.
It is global.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we're certainly sitting in a very advantageous spot to see how it's all going to go.
I know. We were together 5 years ago or so, and
We'll meet again in 5 years
Yeah.
and see how wealthy we all are.
yeah, I think a lot will have changed.
Thanks so much,
Thank
William,
you.
for coming up, and really looking forward to the panel.